Good afternoon, buenas tardes, welcome back, ulti.TV, bringing you all the action from the World Beach Ultimate Club Championships, live and free from Playa del Roca in Portugal, Portimão. Wow, have we got a big one in front of us this time. In the mixed division, late day power pool, I'm Stefan Rapazzo alongside Amelia Durbin. Amelia, it barely needs presentation, but tell us who we've got in front of us here.
We have got Guayota from Spain playing against Margarita mixed, whom's flag says Ireland, but roster perhaps says otherwise. We've got a few of the big Irish names like Bronya Healy and Ferdia Rogers, well-known names in the house. We've also got some big superstar pickups like the Gala, just coming off a silver medal at Euros with Moon Cup, and of course Aurora Lesnick, the latest newbie on the block, kind of coming back after a bit of a break out on this Margarita mixed team. A huge, huge, huge game this afternoon. I'm really excited.
This was, of course, the final of the European Beach Ultimate Club Championship just over a year ago. Margarita mixed. Sorry, this was not. It was against UFA. Margarita Mixed did take that. Guayota won the other two divisions in open and women's. They are the last two champions back-to-back in mixed. Margarita mixed the year prior was Guayota heavyweights. Guayota undefeated and virtually unchallenged throughout. 7 is the most anyone scored against them. That's RFO. While Margarita mixed blemished to start things off, they played freeze go and took a pretty good hit. I don't think they knew it was coming. Aurora Lesnick hadn't showed up yet. I think they had a couple late entries, maybe Brina Healy, if I recall correctly. So were not at their best, took a humbling loss, and have since won 5 in a row.
Classic. I feel like with Beach, you sometimes need an opportunity to warm up, and I do believe Margarita Mixed potentially had a bit of a kit issue early on in the tournament, and as a team, Mike Self, who also had a kit issue. Sometimes playing without a kit doesn't make you feel as kind of together. Silly, they've got their kits on now and they're ready to smash it.
As does Derbs, getting the Mighty Hucks jersey on. We'll talk to her about her journey as we go, but they did have spray painted makeshift kit shirts for day one. They do have their full Margarita clad shirt. You talk about them being Irish and having some add-ons, the likes of La Gala, Lesnick. There's a good Italian presence as well on the male side with Rossi and Barzazzi, potentially two of the best male matching Italian players on the block. Sasha Płotzakolski, of course, meant to be on this roster, but I do not believe has made it. Still recovering from illness. And the Guayota team, very, very true to their home in the Canarias, and they are one of the best systematic sand teams you'll ever see. Let's see how it shakes out. Castillo kicks things off to Rogers up the line. Rogers gives full shoulder shimmy, and then Lesnick fills the space. Rory Keogh hits his knees, has the disc. Motions wide, goes around, nice shape on that throw. Rogers throws too high, backup player can't get there, and we've got a turn on the first point. Guayota, early chance to break.
Just a little bit too much air on that flick there. You see Lesnick getting up really, really high. Kyogen just couldn't come down with it. It's double bid at the same time. The photographer down there will be happy to see that. Guayota slow to walk up to pick up the disc. Margarita mixed O-line, probably a bit frustrated with that, maybe a bit jittery coming out in this big game.
The chiseled veteran Gabaldoni brings the disc in. Sanchez back to Gabaldoni. Swings across, has Ramos, and back to the rock handler. Gabaldoni gets meters and a sitter. Just saw that one right through the hands. 2 turns already on the first point. You can tell there are some nerves in this game. It is a big build occasion. Rogers shoots for goal, and another turn knocked away. Spectacular athleticism. Sanchez gets up in the air. Gonzalez Betancourt gives and gets going. And another turn, short field. Kyo picks up, sees Rogers, puts it in the middle. Nobody upfield except Kyo and Rogers playing together. Not enough. Now come the troops. Leshnik fills in. Looks upfield only still. Eyes only in the end zone. Gives the scuba. Pelican caught it. That was a hot scuba right at him.
You see Lesnick faking with the lefty, the righty, and thought, no, scuba, over the top. Big victory for the Guayota D-line, though, albeit the turns. They're kind of pushing this Margarita mixed O-line from the get-go. Going to be some tired legs out there. Last game of the day. I'm not sure how many games Margarita mixed have had today. Maybe 2. So probably still pretty fresh, as we see a completely new line going out. Sinead Dunn picking up the disc there, coming off a season with Cusp, I believe.
Indeed. Shout. The 4th place semi-finalists at EUCF on grass. Yep, Margarita Mix did have 2 big wins today, 13-5 over the Wizards from Geneva and 10-8 over Natsuo, which of course spells Houston backwards.
Wow. That's fun. I didn't notice that. I was wondering on the schedule what that means.
Getting all the shots from our roaming cam. Of course, we put only the best out there. Liam Grant manning the roaming cam for this match. Here comes Sebastian Spiegel and Guayota mixed. Gonzalez bit on the hip by Kmetsova, but completion stands. Carretero in the corner, Spiegel with Rossi all over him. Little too much contact. Diaz goes to Gonzalez, pick called. I'd say that Rossi bid was a little too physical.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Back in play, Diaz has it checked in by Barsazi. Lefty and lost concentration and dropped. Dunn picks up quickly for Margarita. Lagala. The Rimanesi, who did some work with the Belgians, now quickly Spiegel throws too high, and unbelievable. There are some sure jitters out on this field right now. Some of these turns very unexpected. Yeah,
Guayota maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves, but uncharacteristic from Guayota, I would say. These drops coming out earlier, probably not what we're used to seeing from this side.
Wind has picked up, fair to say. It is the windiest point of today, not this tournament, that's for sure. Barsazi winds up, puts deep Lagala the target, and overcooks it. The wind took it at the end. Everybody telling one another to calm down out there right now.
Yeah, big throws, big options, couple of drops. These both teams clearly looking a little bit angsty to be coming out. This is a big game. We see a slow walk to pick up the disc. Worth noting, this is a D point for Margarita Mix, so for them probably quite a successful turnaround to be pushing this Guayota O-line. See some huge names out there on the pitch, kind of well-known faces in the kind of frisbee scene. Exciting to have them on the camera as the disc gets underway now.
Gonzalez goes to Spiegel. Spiegel fires into the middle. Ortiz quickly dishes to Diaz, gives the backhand, opens up, looks like he's got the right space, and indeed he does. In for a goal, Guayota on the board. The chest bump celebration, and it is one apiece, a couple dirty holds, and that goal goes to Carretero.
Yeah, really good to see Guayota kind of able to play in the small spaces, but when the opportunity deep arises, they are able to take it. Beach is kind of a weird 50-50 of whether you want to be playing small ball or whether you want to be playing kind of big shapes, and that was a fantastic example of being able to do both and taking advantage of when both is given. But a great D-point hustle from the Margarita mixed D-line. Probably going to be disappointed with that turnover. Lagala is such a target to hit, so Barsazi probably going to be feeling a bit frustrated.
Yeah, they've had their chances. Both O-lines have given chances, as you see Diaz getting the up close and personal. Love to see that. Both both of these D-lines have pushed. Both of these O-lines have offered opportunities. They have found ways to fight for those holds. Big shout out to all you in the chats. We will try and check in when the action slows down, but right now it is nothing but action. Hodkova dumps back. Leshnik leads forward. Pelikan crosses the pitch. Rogers there, and now Leshnik. Leshnik to Rogers into the red zone. The lefty Irishman. Back into center. Aurora Leshnik. The Slovenian phenom. Pelikan crosses back to Rogers. Rogers to Pelikan. Goes the Scuba, motioned for it first, then gives it, and it was on target. Required a layout, not an easy catch, but does bounce off the hands of Hodkova.
You see the hands on the heads from nearly everyone on the sideline thinking, oh, what a great bid, but unfortunately just kind of ground stripped out of the hands. Margarita Mix kind of working themselves really hard doing that three-person handler weave with the downfield players like isolated and waiting for their opportunity. Not sure how sustainable it is for a long game that's kind of trading like this.
Gabaldoni, break chance available for Guayota. Very long points, the first two, and this third point already. Jimenez to Gabaldoni, and again he'll chase under it. Thrower led out of the end zone. Jimenez waits, Gabaldoni comes, too many. Macked by Rogers and taken back. Good O-line D out of Margarita Mixed. Leshnik spins, still, finally fires one over to Pelikan. Pelikan, blade, not enough on it.
I think there might have been a touch on that disc. A little hand block, kind of pushed it up into the air.
Of course, Jimenez, a defensive specialist for Guayota. He was on the mark there, so I wouldn't doubt what you saw there. I didn't see it. I just saw the disc fall short.
I think it might have been a big disc going up. Not enough.
And again, the inefficiencies early game here. Some indication of the weather, some indication of the nerves. But another turn, that's 4 again in this point. Every point so far has had 4 turnovers, ironically enough.
Yeah, something I will say is, and again, I am playing here, it's not that windy. And sometimes when it's not that windy, it's harder to play in. A little bit of a breeze or a slight stronger gust is much more difficult than when it's super, super, super gusty. As we see a big disc going up from Rogers down to the Irish compatriot, but just too far, sailing all the way out the back of that far end zone. Looking a little bit like tennis out there at the moment. Kind of huck and D. Not a bad strategy, but a really tiring one.
Oh yeah, the end zone to end zone ping pong game. It's more work than ping pong, even though a similar sense of back and forth.
It can be quite demoralizing to play huck and D, both as an O-line and as a D-line. However, if you back yourself to be able to turn a team down in their end zone, it is quite rewarding, but it's a big risk because if Guayota now move it all the way upfield, Margarita Mixed O-line have wasted quite a lot of energy moving up and down the field laterally to try and kind of bait out a D in that first third.
5 turnovers in. Jimenez launches. Ferdia versus Gabaldoni. Rogers gets some shoulder in, and Gabaldoni accepts it. I've seen that man accept fouls in some of the biggest moments of the sport, including the World Championship over in Huntington Beach a year ago. That one, Pelikan throws over the head of Leshnik, and this point continues on. Jimenez now 5 meters away. Short field for Guayota. Can they end the point? Indeed they can. That one finds the hands of Albar Diaz, and Guayota break on the 3rd point of the game, 2-1. This one's already shaping up to be a good one.
Yeah, what a fantastic break chance, an early break as well, which can sometimes be all you need to take a game. However, one thing that Margarita Mix do have in their favor is a roster of incredibly talented players that can probably go both ways. I wouldn't be surprised to see a completely new line come out here on offense, but every single player more than enough capable to to be slotting in an offensive hold. They have now changed direction. They will be going upwind, which, unpopular opinion, I think scoring upwind is probably sometimes a little bit easier than scoring downwind. Downwind, your margin of error seems to be much smaller. The wind is pushing the disc all the way to the floor, whereas kind of when you're going upwind, you've got a little bit more swill on it. It can sit nicer.
It's an interesting opinion. I think it depends on the power of the wind. But again, the harder it is to go upwind, the more push there is downwind. It's, I think I disagree, but I understand where you're coming from.
That's why they put us in the booth together, Steph. We like to keep things interesting. We can argue about more things if you'd like.
Yeah, we got plenty to disagree upon.
Flick pulls, yes or no?
I'd say no. Costello to Rossi, but it depends. There's a time and a place. Rossi shakes and gives to Costello in the backfield. Costello. High stall count, zips to Kmetsova. Kmetsova puts Jones the target, not gonna get there. The throw goes out of bounds. Jones throws the body to ensure that he wasn't giving up on it.
Yeah, I was talking about this with my teammates, and whilst the Guayota team potentially walked the disc, maybe want to have a conversation about, which is, at what point do you not lay out? Because to me here, I think people underestimate quite how taxing laying out is on your body. And to me there, that disc is too far gone. And that's a lot of energy that Jones has wasted there. What's your thoughts? Never give up on a disc, or do you think have
sure.
the guess?
I mean, there is a point, right? It's the same as, here's this shot first we'll discuss, and it hit and bounced off the hand. So many so close that are more often than not going to air. Costello goes to Jones. Jones waits, asks for Rossi, he comes, but nothing available. Then he breaks inside Costello. Costello to Rossi. Rossi waiting for something to open, Costello gives the upline cut. Straight back, Rossi leads too low. Another turnover. That is the biggest stat in this game so far, is the turnover counter.
Yeah, which is probably not what you want from thinking of this is a really elite game. So I think both teams probably going to be feeling a little bit disappointed with themselves.
But we are still in a game here. Guayota, if they can break again in a sloppy game like this, would be feeling very good about the way it's panned out for them. Over the top, Gonzalez inside, then Ramos goes central. Throw for goal, Diaz gets the throw to go. And it's Gonzalez Betancourt who puts Guayota up 3-1 in unprecedented fashion.
Guayota's super impressive there, just kind of grinding the onions. Oh my god. I'm really food oriented. I said my eggs yesterday. Grinding the unders and capitalizing on their defense kind of trailing. I think being able to do that and kind of cutting in unorthodox spaces on beach isn't necessarily a bad thing, as you see them kind of passing through the middle in this string of passes, then leading the receiver into the end zone. A bit needed, but a break all the same.
I will forever be calling unders onions from here on out.
I know. Yesterday I said it really takes out of your eggs, and today I said grinding your onions. Oh, goodness me. Playing and commentating is very challenging, everyone at home. I do apologize.
Don't at all. Loving the commentary, Durbin. The question before, it's the same as, like, do you bid on a disc that you likely won't get, but to put the pressure on the hip?
Yep.
The answer is no most of the time, until it's like a universe point and you need them to feel extra pressure. So similar, but that one by Steege, like, you want your team to know you're going for it. There's some motivation that comes with it, but as far as his preservation, probably not perfect. There's another turn. Shot, Gabaldoni on the goal line. Margarita Mixed are going to need a timeout if they cash this one in. And they just have done it, and they are full of errors right now. And Guayota making them capitalize on each and every one of them with eventuality, or in this case, immediacy.
Yeah, it looks like Guayota have like a game plan or a strategy, which is when the disc turns, someone busts it deep and they just trust them to throw it. It's not a bad strategy. A quick turn on beach is incredibly hard to go up against. Margarita maybe not adjusting to playing sand, maybe playing a little bit grassy. All of these players probably have just come off of a fantastic season with their retrospective scenes in the grass pitch, but maybe just struggling to adjust a little bit. But Guayota starting to show their class now. I know that Guayota have been training really, really hard for this tournament, and sometimes it doesn't matter who's on your team. Sometimes just training reps and connection is more important than the big names.
No timeout taken, only one timeout in beach, so it is a precious one, but I'm sorry if I'm Margarita Mixed. I think it's an important enough moment of the game to be taking that. They're just going to roll a fresh line, and it's nice that they're able to do that. But a hold here, absolutely crucial if they're going to have any potential to win this thing. Dunn with a high stall count in their own end zone, mounting higher and higher, and finally gets it out. Costello leads a throw to Kametsova. Both put their hands up, but Costello just totally overthrew there.
Yeah, I think a timeout is needed just to recenter, refocus. But again, on these pickup teams, who's in charge? Who's the loudest voice?
Well, Rogers has his name down as the captain. Ortiz fires too much. And Margarita Mixed will get a chance to redeem that last mistake.
Yeah, time is ticking. Games are 45 minutes until the whistle goes, and 20 minutes has already passed, which is quite a lot of time. Quite a low-scoring game. We've had a couple of long points with quite a few kind of uncharacteristic turnovers from both teams. We see Margarita Mixed just getting a bit stuck. Defense from Guayota isn't necessarily groundbreaking, but maybe just kind of being a little bit more threatening in that open space.
Barsazi gives a cut for Dunn and gets the disc. He went deep to Lagala last time and missed. This time he's put it away. Dunn with the disc. Barsazi went deep and the throw didn't go. Then the lead, and Costello pulled out of the cut. Spiegel gets a easy D with no one going up line. Spiegel leads Navasa. Navasa into the backfield, led forward. Quickly turns Toscano in for goal. Spiegel there, 5-1. Margarita Mixed totally disheveled here.
I can see the hands of 30 Rogers kind of beckoning the team in, to me suggesting a timeout has now been called, and I think that is definitely the right decision.
And with that, we're going to take a short break here too. The score is 5 for Guayota. Margarita Mixed 1. More action to come here from the World Beach Ultimate Club Championships. Margarita Mixed, a team full of all-stars that pulled together a European championship a year ago. Now, struggling to get their second point on the board. There we are, the drone coming into our beautiful booth. Of course, I'm Stefan Rapazzo alongside
Hi.
Amelia Durbin. It's our pleasure to be able to bring you the action. Less of a pleasure out there right now if you're Margarita Mixed, Durbs. They are looking like a bunch of individuals more than a team with any nature of cohesion.
Yeah, I think that these big pickup teams, it must be a real hard job people managing, because who do you put on when everyone is so good? I think a lot of players are often the big name on their team, and therefore they have a different expectation. Margarita Mixed, from looking at them and like seeing them play, I don't think they necessarily play like that. I'm not accusing them of being like that, but it's who do you put on when everyone is so good? Is it who's having a good game? Is it who has had better games in the past?
Do you stick with just line rolling? Are you able to call the audible and change the lines? You know, I think I would be calling lines differently at this stage of the game, despite what the pre-game game plan is, but I'm not out there coaching, that's for sure, whether they'd want me or not. Kametsova sends deep, Healy the target, and that is just a bit too far. I thought it was going to stick. I liked the option, but they do miss again and are forced to play defense.
Yeah, a really nice throw, kind of some great form using the shoulder, pulling the disc all the way back and sitting out nicely. It did really, really sit, and maybe Healy there, maybe it like kind of was cutting laterally and then had to adjust. But when it's this downwind, and you see, if you can see the flags in the background, it's quite a gentle downwind. It's deceptive. You need to be really, really careful, making sure you're putting enough height, enough sit, and there just unfortunately a little bit of lapse in concentration as we see a big disc going up by Guayota.
And taken down. Gonzalez Betrancourt gets the disc, had steps on Costello, and thrown too high on continuation. Albar Diaz puts too much on it. Deep shot goes. Barsazi the target, but that throw from Costello had a bit too much on it and goes out the back.
To give some context, Steph, is this a pool game? Is this a crossover? Have you got that information for the people at home?
This is the end of the power pool for them after this game tomorrow. Sorry, this is not the end. There are still 2 more games remaining in power pools for mixed. For the Margarita Mixed, they will play Ukraine and beach pools and then go into the round of 16 by the end of tomorrow.
Oh, great bid.
Other divisions are already going to be going into the round of 16 by early and midday tomorrow. Gonzalez Betrancourt, Gabaldoni, and what a bid by Albar Diaz Lorenzo. Taking it to the sand, left hand squeezes the disc and stretching that lead out even further. 6-1 now, another break.
Yeah, full extension, beautifully horizontal, really nice to see that. Margarita Mixed potentially now looking a bit stunned. On beach, a 6-1 lead, a 6-1 deficit is very hard to come back from. Time is ticking, time has been passing away quite quickly. As we see Costello and Lesnick back out on the field. It's ABBA here in the mixed division, so rotating between 3 male matching players and 3 female matching players, and then 2 retrospective genders, depending on the rotation. Be interesting to see what this line does. Looking at it, this was the line that was doing the handler weave a little bit earlier, and then they were kind of sat off. So this might be the all-important game changer. The Margarita Mix have a fantastic line of D-line players. If they can get back out there, I'm sure the breaks will roll.
Well, they've got to get something going. It is a difficult situation to be in, no matter how you slice it, but there's only one way out. Otherwise, continue to go down. Again, 1 hold on the second point of the game, or on the first point of the game. It was a 1-0 lead for Margarita Mixed, and since 6 in a row, Leshnik nothing to look at till late in the sequence. Castillo comes under. Castillo puts into the chisel cut of Leshnik. She winds up and sends that one very floaty and a lot of company, but Kyo reads it best. Into the center, through Rogers into Pelican, back to Rogers. Rogers looks and gives, and finally they've put an offensive hold together, and 1 more point on the board. They're down 2-6 now.
Castillo just making it look effortless on the sand, so unbelievably fast. Of Yaka, I believe, this season, matching up against her at London Invite earlier this year, also on ulti.TV if you want to catch up on those games. Just impossible to mark.
Yeah, very difficult mark. She was, of course, part of the Tokai super team as well. Maria Castillo of Mexico, living in Belgium and playing for a French club team. So a lot of international representation out of her. and put to very good use there here for the Irish beach club side.
An international superstar, you could say.
You better believe it.
So we see teams lining up ready to go on. It is 6-2, and I mentioned that Margarita Mixed have a fantastic roster of D-line players, so let's see what they can do. Guayota's breaks happened really fast. There is absolutely no reason that Margarita Mixed couldn't do the same, as we see an unorthodox, and as Steph does not like, flick pull, which does not roll out the back, so it is deep in the Guayota end zone. That is a fantastic start for Margarita Mixed.
Spiegel to Gonzalez in their own end zone. Leads forward Ortiz with Lagala tight on the mark. Ortiz throws high, Spiegel pops one over. Diaz back to Spiegel. Forward, Gonzalez, there was room there, but the throw was put away. Ortiz comes back to the disc. Ortiz jumping off the pivot foot, gets space, and even with a poach D put into such a tight mailbox slot there. And another goal for Guayota, clean hold.
7-2, which I believe is half time. So we'll be going to a quick half-time. There is no stoppage at half, so we'll just have the teams switching sides from when they originally started and coming out on the opposite of what they began with. My memory is not serving me well. I believe that Margarita Mix started on offense, which means they will now be coming out on D, which means they do have an opportunity to break out of half, which can be sometimes a bit of a power move. But with just 15 minutes on the clock before the whistle goes, they've got a big, big job here.
It's tough, having not broken and getting scored on, and Guayota get to leave their O-line. Sure, you need to get your D-line on the field to be able to get breaks and get back into it, but it's easier to start with a free hold. I put up the finger quotation marks because, well, the way their O-line's been performing, it wouldn't be free, but seemingly easier to start by receiving a pull.
Yeah, nothing is free in Ultimate, especially not goals on the beach. Very hard. So we see Lesnick with a fantastic pull. Is it going to stay in bounds?
Just out of bounds, and that has been a tale of the tape. Missing by just a bit, and Guayota being able to take the advantage time and time again. Put into play immediately. Gonzalez on the far sideline, centered, Spiegel. Spiegel fakes low, Rossi dives in front. Next throw, great leading throw, and the continuation oh so quickly. Dorta gets it into the end zone, and we do have, is it a travel? It has been retracted. It is a goal. Indeed it is. I believe that is Carolina Navasa with the goal. From Dorta, quick, concise, and that makes it 8-2.
One thing I think Guayota are kind of really, really good at, and they're showing their class, is being able to throw into space and trusting the receiver to run onto it. You see them doing some nice, like, lofty passes to the break side, and the receivers know it's coming as well. On beach, there's often a tendency to kind of play in a small space and think that that's the best way to do it, but Guayota, as I mentioned earlier, are able to utilize more of the field when the time is right, and also know and recognize when to play in that small space. We see Margarita Mixed on offense now, hoping to get another hold in so they can send out their D-line and potentially try and start the D-line trains. We see a big, big disc going over the top, and you can see how much it means to them. Margarita Mixed do not want to be down and out here. The big kind of fist bump from Jones and a fantastic flick braid over to that far sideline.
Yep, beautiful bit of play there. Jones, catch and release. The forehand with shape. Trust in the receiver, and they need a spark. Will this be it offensively? I think more so they need to find that spark on defense, but for now they'll take a nice clean goal like that one, finding Kmetsova. And now, can they generate a D? I do believe that Margarita are just rolling balanced lines. What's your take on the balanced line rolling? Is it something that you prescribe, that you like playing within? Is this?
I think it depends on the situation, which is a terrible answer. But later on in the tournament, if Margarita Mixed are in a position to win, I refuse to believe that they will be rolling through their lines. I think potentially as they're still in pool play and potentially that they have still contention for the top 16, they probably know that as much as this is an important game, it's not the end of the tournament for them. Again, I'm a fan of an O and D line, but also when it's windy, you want to change to doing upwind and downwind, and when it's rolling, you want to be bringing over the best players that are doing the best work.
I agree with all of those things. What I don't agree with is just having balanced lines that have shared playing time and going back and forth. That may be reading it wrong, but that's the way I see them rolling these lines. One, you get your turn, we get our turn, they get their turn. And if that is the case, well, it doesn't seem to be working today. However, they get a D there, so as I said it, I get proved wrong immediately thereafter.
Yeah, we see Lesnick with a bit of a phantom bid, kind of bids too late, but puts the thrower off, and a turnover happens. But Rogers puts it way too high over the head of his receiver, and they lose their opportunity quite quickly, and I think they are going to be getting a little bit annoyed with themselves.
Yeah, this is one they'll surely be watching back with some heads a-shaking. Torta inbounds, Spiegel to Diaz. Gives a head nod, doesn't like the first cut. Then over the shoulder, Spiegel. Around, Torta open, and that makes it 10-3 Guayota rolling right now.
I do think we have a pick being called potentially. Saw a bit of a hand signal from Lesnick and her player go up. I think the conversation is going to happen and a pick is accepted, which means the disc will go back.
So, not so fast. Back in the hands of Spiegel. Tapped in and underway. Gonzalez to Diaz. Back to Patricia Gonzalez. Diaz, high release, backhand, Spiegel standing still in space for the goal.
Guayota are showing a bit of a masterclass in throwing. They've had some uncharacteristic drops and maybe some discs that have gone too far, but their throwing is absolutely fantastic. And when you compare the rosters of both teams, you'd expect the people on Margarita Mix to kind of be the showcasing of what this sport is and what elite frisbee is, but Guayota, the kind of underdogs necessarily by name, not necessarily by performance, are showing how to do it kind of perfectly.
And that's it. It is the two disciplines as well. A lot of the stars on Margarita Mix, not only are they just coming together for this, they are more prevalently known for their performances on the grass. As much as they have done it on beach, there are many that play beach. They are not a beach institution like Guayota is, and there are very few teams that can say they are their highest focus on the beach game.
Yeah.
Margarita Mixed, it would be tough to say that that is the prowess discipline of most of this team. Now the deep shot goes, Barsazi is in, and a one throw score. That's one way to get the defense back on the field.
Yeah, fantastic shot from Dunn there. Kind of saw what she wanted and boosted it deep, and what a receiver to be boosting it deep to. Barsazi, well known. We see him flexing his muscles there with the red base layer. Pumped up, and it's nice to see a couple of smiles back on the Margarita Mix team. It's difficult to kind of be beaten by a lot. Hard to keep the spirits up, but spirits, that's a pun because it's a margarita. Oh god, I'm too good at this. As we see them line up, and what a big D-line it is as we see the superstar, that is Aurora Lesnick with the pink disc in hand, getting ready for one of her well-known fantastic pulls, specifically on grass at the European Championships that happened recently. Did some absolutely fantastic pulling there for her Groot side, who did take the title. But other notable names, a couple of European championships on there. We've got Ferdy Rogers, who won it with Ranelagh in 2022, as we see.
David Barsazi, the goal scorer there, wondering why their strategy session is getting looked in on. Are we gonna? They're already figured out. Diaz fakes and then gives the offhand. Ooh, boobly bobbly, but maintained by Carretero. Gonzalez, great thrower led to Dorta. Already into the red zone. Dorta checks and Ortiz comes back right in the center of the field. Dorta. Flipping grips, finds the corner, and another goal for Guayota. The O-line cannot be stopped. Carretera with the goal.
Guayota really finding their feet there, and I said it again earlier, they are so good at playing on the sand. Every single person is kind of committing all the way through with their cut because they're just putting the disc out gently, which means they can run onto it, and their defender is always behind them. All it takes on beach is one small step and you are ahead, and Guayota are doing an absolute class example of how to play beach. You know, anyone that's here at the Beach World Ultimate Championships that is kind of watching this is how you play beach. And what a fantastic, fantastic game this is proving to be. Unfortunately, it's not going in Margarita Mix's favor, but we are seeing some world-class mixed beach ultimate here.
Very tidy stuff out of Guayota. Margarita Mix in the second half have been better, able to hold, but they are just too far behind if they can't stop Guayota's attack, and thus far unable. Here to get their defense back on the field, Kmetsova gets from Barsazi, and then the offhand to Lagala, back to Kmetsova. High release, Lagala's there, so is Barsazi, and it's David Barsazi with the hand on the disc. 10-5, the new scoreline.
Yeah, Lagala took a bit of a tumble there, kind of getting a bit tripped up by Barsazi, but a goal is a goal. It's nice to see her looking all right. I was worried that was going to be an injury. Barsazi with the red sleeves pumped up, just a single bicep flex this time. 4 minutes left on the clock for Margarita Mix. I think potentially, you know, a game isn't over until it's over, but I think potentially they are recognizing the situation they've got themselves in, as we see the disc going up over the top, but Barsazi just saying no. Some great defensive pressure from Guayota. They're right under every single disc that Margarita Mix do put up, but Barsazi straight back on. So we do see potentially some line calling now. So it's interesting to recognize that change as Barsazi just scored and is now straight back out to play D.
With Pelican, Rogers, Castillo, and I believe it's Hudkova. And that pull will go out of bounds, and Guayota will take the benefit.
Yeah, as we know, a bricked pull on beach is actually quite significant. It's about 1/3 of the field, and you do really feel it. It's a massive advantage, so you want to be getting those pulls inbounds because else you're giving up half the field, basically.
Dorta goes backwards to Diaz. Marks switch, and Diaz leads Spiegel, and a takeaway. Can they materialize the first break of the game? Pelican, Rogers. Pelican, no one to throw to still, then gets Hudkova in the goal, and Margarita Mixed have broken finally.
Yeah, 10-6, 2 minutes left on the clock in about 16 seconds. Margarita Mixed do have a lot to do, but they're pumped up now. Guayota slow to walk to the line, looking a little bit defeated after just a single break. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that might be the first break of the game for Margarita Mixed.
There's nothing to correct there, Meals. That is the first break of the game for Margarita Mixed. They've had a couple turns, a couple break chances. In the early points, there were a bunch of break chances, unable to capitalize. This time, Barsazi is The crossover, he stayed on the field. He generated the D there, putting pressure on Spiegel. And they do finally get a break. We're about a minute and a half. There's the break. Chances 13-4. Goodness gracious. But 1 for 4 ain't bad. I guess 25% is not great, but they got to start somewhere. 2 for 5 would be nice.
It was one way to make your stats look good. Just don't have as many opportunities and convert on them all. So we see a pull going up, a flick pull, which does not roll out the back. Guayota quick to field, centering, a little tick-a-tacker to get the disc moving. And we're in now. Diaz
looking upfield. A lot of congestion on the far sideline, but they get one off to Spiegel. Fired. Carretero bobbles and catches once again. Leads forward. Gonzalez. Castillo diving behind. Gonzalez looks to the backfield. Diaz gives space. Gets the windmill arms and then throws very low, but Spiegel does collect. Spiegel puts deep. Carretero, the intended receiver, readjusts and bounces off the hand. Barasazi, 2 fists in the air celebrating.
Yeah, what a fantastic bid there as we see the wind just taking it all the way to that left side. Really, really good read there, but just kind of pushed it a little bit too far. You see a slight stumble, and to get a hand on that is really impressive.
Carretero throwing the body around, doing a great job to get there. The throw looked quite good coming out of hand, but then just trailed as we see some of the fans on the sideline, some of Amelia's Mighty Huck's teammates.
That's my friends.
Alana Archer will be coming into the booth next week for the Great Grandmasters Championship. And first throw turn, Steege. Jones misses. Sinead Dunn. They will not go 2 for 5 on break chances. Gonzalez. Waiting. Rossi in the double team space, but the disc does still get out. Diaz back to Gonzalez after conceding 10 to 15 meters. Then the lead throw. They've got those meters back. Gonzalez leads. Spiegel on the corner. On the sideline, rather. Looks to go inside, then up line. Takes the inside on the second option. Gonzalez mark very loose right now. Then goes Diaz side, asks for a switch, does Dunn, and they're unable to find the way in yet. Until then, Dorta, but the loose defense trying to switch seemed disorganized.
Yeah, that's a prime example of it just takes one step. To be able to kind of point your hand and say, I'm free on this side. If you throw the disc there is no way my defender can get there. And what a prime example of that. Margarita Mix did get their break chances. These are starting to rack up a little bit more than they were at the beginning of the game when they were kind of getting broken over and over. But Guayota just kind of showing a little bit more class. But like we say, this is not tournament ending for either team. Margarita Mix still have a fantastic chance of being in the top 16, the top 8, the top 4, the top final. So there's a lot to play for. Still a lot of Frisbee left at the World Beach Ultimate Club Championship, which I personally am thrilled about.
Love to see everybody in the chats giving opinions, wondering what's going on. I know Joe White in the chat, as always, one of ulti.TV's
biggest fans,
wondering who the favorites in mixed are. Well, you've got to think Guayota right now. I think Margarita Mixed are and maybe could still be considered as the favorites in this tournament. UFA, the home team, a potential contender. Freesgo is a team that definitely is getting some consideration. And that list goes a little bit deeper right now, but we're going to play on from here. You're more than welcome to give us your opinions on the favorites, as we have been reading your opinions on this team representing Ireland and the legitimacy of that, and we'll leave that to you in the chats. Leshnik to Rogers. Rogers from one knee. Hudkova. Back to Rogers, just around the foot of Jimenez. Pelican had Rogers up line, but takes Leshnik in the middle. Great hands by Lagala to keep that one off the sand. Lagala to Leshnik, back to Carmen Lagala. Those two played against one another on grass in the EUCF final a few weeks back. Leshnik to Rogers. Rogers, the lefty. Goes around with the backhand. Hudkova. Strong catch. Ferdia Rogers leads. Hudkova gets the right hand out. Fired. Leshnik throws the body. No surprise. And quick in to Pelican for the goal.
Throwing herself on the ground and then throwing from the ground. Some quick reaction speeds there from Leshnik, both on offense and throwing. But a goal is a goal. It's 11-7, which is starting to look a little bit nicer. But there's still a long way to go. Games are to 13 here, which means that Guayota only need to score 2 more points before they take the win. As we see Margarita Mix looking a little bit more positive.
I think we've come to a time cap. They'll only need to score 1 more point. It'll be a game to 12. We're into the 49th minute, Meals.
How exciting. Well, a game's not over until it's over. We could potentially see a big comeback here.
It is
we
very
see the
much.
Basazi back out, the D-man himself.
Star Sazi.
Hey, nice.
7-11. You know what would go nice right now with this scoreline?
Lemonade.
7-Eleven, always open, 24 hours. The Slurpee. Give me a Slurpee.
I don't know what you're saying, Steph.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry. In the chat, do you know what Steph's saying? Or am I just like really showing
No.
a lack of common knowledge?
There's a lot of people who would have no idea. But
okay.
There's a few out there who might be on to my regularities of bant. Here comes Diaz to Gonzalez. Has been an absolute star out there. Carretero. Goes inside. Diaz. Rossi tries to put a hand on. This could be game. Gonzalez floats it maybe too much. Oh my goodness! How did Diaz win that aerial battle? Ortiz gets the game-winning goal with the spike. Unbelievable scenes here. Guayota finished the job. 12-7, convincing win over Margarita Mixed.
Yeah, fair play to Guayota. I think they just kind of showcased some class early on. It was ropey for the beginning for both teams, loads of turnovers early, but Guayota potentially kind of had a manager or a captain kind of level them out, and they played fantastically from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, in the second half, Margarita Mix won.
Yeah.
They had 1 break to 0. But they were down a whole bunch of breaks in the first half, and it was ropey and sloppy in the first half. Look at that catch. Diaz, the smallest of the 3 there. Rossi and Kametsova bigger. Kametsova with better position. Rossi in front, totally sandwiched. What a individual effort by Diaz. And what a team effort by Guayota. They really, really showed the world there how to play as a unit. And, you know, taking down a team that is this star-studded is no easy feat, and they didn't make it look easy, but they were very convincing in doing as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Margarita Mix probably feeling disappointed, but again, I mentioned earlier, it's not the end of the tournament for them, as we see the thumbs up from the Guayota player. Happy to take that win. A little wave for the fans at home. I'm sure that we're going to be seeing a lot more from both 2 teams in the rest of this tournament. As we see the stats coming up there, Guayota 6 breaks to just 1 from Margarita Mix. Quite a similar number of turns. 5 is not that much different, but I think the real issue there is the break chances. Margarita with just 5 break chances, whereas Guayota with 13 and able to capitalize on 6.
The 6 for 13, a great break chance percentage. 1 for 5 is not horrible, but when you're getting that many fewer chances, it's going to be a difficult situation. I do believe we have Benji Reese standing by with Sergio Diaz Puerta. Hoping to get a word from him. Made a huge play there at the end of the game. And once we're ready, we'll have the action. As you take a look at this beach, we're going to throw down to Benji now.
Delighted to be joined by some of the Guayota stars after a resounding victory over Margarita Mixed. Sergio, how are you feeling?
Bueno, yo me siento muy bien. Está siendo una semana dura, pero estamos sabiendo resolver los partidos.
He's feeling great. It's been a tough week, but we are getting results and we're happy about it.
I mean, undefeated so far. What were your aims coming into the week? How far do you think you can go?
Nuestro objetivo de la semana es llegar lo más arriba posible, intentando competir todos los partidos, que todos los partidos sean competidos y que eso nos lleve lo más alto posible, o sea, donde sea.
Okay. Our goal is to keep competing every single game, go to the top, aim to the top, but through the way, just keep competing every single game, try to bring highest level and then just reach as far as we can.
Have you got any shout-outs you'd like to make to people back home?
Que si quieres decirle algo a tu madre, a tu familia.
A la gente de casa siempre muchísimas gracias por el apoyo, desde aquí se nota un montón, hemos venido muchos guayotas y estamos súper acogidos, así que muchísimas gracias.
Just basically to everyone at home, thank you for watching, and to every single Guayota fan, thank you for the support. We'll keep winning and pushing.
Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. I'll let you get to the Spirit Circle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well played, gentlemen. Back to you upstairs.
Thank you so much, Benji. Great to get those insights from Diaz after the incredible game he had. Great to get Miguel Jimenez Perez, but that game by Diaz, I mean, a lot of contributions all over, but Diaz really getting that one at the end. We'll have a look at everything he did throughout that game. That's the first assist that he had, Meals, but wasn't he awesome?
He was so good and so consistent as well, and sometimes on a team you need someone to kind of drive the offense, and that is exactly what he did. It's okay to have a player on your team that does everything, and this player is someone who does just that, as we see another big stat coming from them here, just straight down the line, and a jump in goal, kind of double covered a little bit as well. Great work from Guayota.
Yeah, he was everywhere, doing everything, and to stand out in a system that is this well put together, very difficult to do. And somehow he did. Any other names as we watched the rest of these game highlights that stood out in the game for you? Derbs?
Gonzalez, number 22 on the Guayota side, a fantastic female matching receiver. Someone that was kind of just grinding the whole game so fast on both offense and defense, and kind of a real pest to the Margarita mixed side. Other than that, I think we should probably worth shouting about some of the Margarita mixed players. Barsazi had a fantastic game.
Yeah, Barsazi definitely did step things up. I think Pavel Pelikan was very solid throughout the game. Aurora Leshnik, expectedly very good. Didn't get many chances defensively, I found. I think she's a great defensive stalwart, but was playing more on O-line, which she was fine out there, but I would have loved to see a crossover or two out of her, as well of form as she's been in lately.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also had a great game from Legala. Legala not necessarily getting any big highlights, but again, just grinding the onions and grinding the onions, oh my goodness, grinding the unders and doing a fantastic job of that too.
Can somebody make us a grinding the onions meme?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Or t-shirt. We need a grinding the onions meme for Derbs. And we can get Felix Shardlow's face on there too, knowing how much he loves the onions. Pavel Pelikan with this one, but we're going to leave you with some of these images, these memories. Another day in the books from the beach. Playa del Roca turning it on today. Much better weather than yesterday. Much better ultimate on the arena field each and every day. It just keeps getting better. And guess what? Tomorrow is going to be even better. Don't get too invested into what's on the schedule now, because there's some changes. But what won't change is its action non-stop for Amelia Durbin. I've been Stefan Ravazzo. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ulti.TV.
When you tell me what you want, I just wanted you to see me. Never thought you'd notice. Thought that you should know I'm already sold. Never let me go. You had me at a la 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 la.